I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And since we have no public here, any public input? Any at all? Okay, no public input. We'll move right on to the acceptance of the minutes of March 26, 2018. As my voice squeaks like before.
I'd like to make one change.
We have a change, an amendment?
Can I change your gender again?
Well, I made the last one, I made a motion, and someone else needed to second it.
And we forgot who it was.
Me, put Mr. Potter.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
No, it's probably Travis.
It was probably Travis.
My husband on the board.
I think you just have to think about it as an angel.
We'll work on it.
And Kara was thinking we had a special connection.
We do.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept as amended.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? And abstention?
We're just missing Travis.
Oh, I should have abstained.
602.
602.
602 in absence. Got it. Thank you.
All right, number 5 on the agenda is the student report.
Yeah. Okay. So spring sports are up and running at the high school. We have a lot of practices going on in the athletic right now. I believe the first event happening is there's a track meet sometime next week. And the big thing happening next week, much to the juniors' dismay, is SATs are on the 10th. And this Saturday, some choir students will be performing in a Masterwork Festival at Merrill Auditorium in Portland. I would say about 20 or so students is doing that. Also this Saturday, students will be competing in National History Day up in Orono. Yeah. And starting this Sunday, as you've probably seen posters, the Isle of the Moon spring play is at Noble. It will be performing 7 o'clock each night, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That is what I have for this week.
Thank you.
I have a question. So I believe, and maybe you said this and I missed it, but there also is a freshman-sophomore dance. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's one coming up. I'm not sure when that is, though.
I was told, I think a lot of people didn't know about it, and then I was told that it may be canceled because there weren't enough parent chaperones, but...
I haven't heard about chaperones, but they don't email us about it. They email the freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
I suppose it makes sense. Target audience.
Could I ask you what you're doing on Saturday, April 28th, from like 7:40 to 11:10? You're a senior, aren't you?
I am, but I'm not going to any Saturday schools. The first one in April is the New York trip, so students that are participating don't have to go. And the one in May is the All-State Festival for choir and band, and I am a part of that. So by happenstance, I am missing both.
And we actually picked those dates because those students count as part of the student body that day.
So you
Because
so
they're
you get
actually
numbers.
in-
Because of playoffs and because of athletics. And
So they're still
availability.
participating in school?
Yep, yep.
Harder than the ones that are here.
But still, way to work the system. I guess student report wise too, are we expecting a new student rep here soon?
Yes, I don't know if your son has told you.
I almost just said that freshmen and sophomores are not the best communicators, but let's just go
Yes,
ahead.
I've been emailing with him, and Cormac has agreed that he'd be interested in this position next year.
No, I have not heard.
2 weeks ago. And hopefully I'll get him into that sometime in the next few weeks.
And we're thinking about having him join up and do a dual role so he can kind of warm up to what's expected and have a nice transition.
Why don't you teach him in your dual role to keep his comments a little shorter than when he was in public input? Because he came in late and missed the whole 3-minute thing.
The chair can gavel him down.
Yeah.
Yes, but
You did a good job.
we don't get that often. Thank you, Caitlin, very much.
No problem.
And we're moving on to number 6,
All right.
budget discussion and board adoption.
So Denise is going to,
More paper.
she's going to add to your booklets, and it's going to be equal to about sycamore. So, as far as trees go.
Okay,
How are you, Denise?
I am lovely.
Back from the dead?
Yes, indeed.
Denise has been, her whole family had, most of her family had the great opportunity to be
This
extremely ill
is Noble High School,
3 or 4 days.
and there's one page. So I'm gonna, I'll take that out. That's Noble High School, one page. And section 1. And section 2, 1 page. 11, also one page, section 3. Adult education has 2 pages, it's the first one with 2 pages.
This is Vivian Hussey, this is Norton. Yes.
Or for the telephone.
This one's good.
Yeah, let me get my second page. You did say that.
Adult ed is 2 pages.
How do I have
Read this.
on the front page? It's just a ruin everywhere else is behind it.
We're backing up.
2 pages and good luck.
1 page.
So adult education is the first one with 2 pages, special ed is the second one with 2 pages, and school nutrition is the third one.
This is what?
Single page. And this one is good. 2 pages.
Education is 2.
This was 2 pages.
One.
Okay, so that was 2.
Did you get your 2 pages in this one?
You should take 2 pages on
Yes, nutrition, got 2 pages.
school nutrition. Yeah, what's that? You're taking care of it? What is that one?
Transportation is 2 also. maybe.
Yes.
2?
We must be almost done now.
Right?
We're halfway there.
These are the same.
There's one that says district portion and one that says just school nutrition.
What that one, sir?
One page. I'm assuming that these only reflect the changes that we did last week. One page. One page.
Oh, been found?
This is too much paper. You want to look at it? I want to know.
I have cookies.
Correction.
There's 6 chocolate chip oatmeal and
You
there's
used
6
to have
lemon.
lemon.
They're here to, I'm just gonna start them on the center, go that way.
There better be one lemon makes it this far.
Yes.
Just school community, just one thing.
Everybody has the line together.
One page.
Not for everybody have one.
Thank you.
One page.
Just one.
Just one page. Two pages.
Well, we're putting some numbers into it. It's not, it's 200,000 to replace the
This is three, and they are offset. So if you take this packet and someone else they are sorted.
That's three. Take it from the top. This one from the bottom.
This is a one. This is a one page.
Got it all under control.
Thank you.
Bookmobile's two. One is the local portion, one is their budget. That was outside. And the very top is the district portion.
This one?
This one's just divided out. Sure. It's not tough.
This is three.
And now I gotta flip. There it is.
Any more?
Are we done?
Yes, the only thing I have left is something on the main bond bank, which I think I'll hand out once we talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
No, appreciate it.
I'm not getting everything in there.
That's why I do it at home. Because I know the clickety clack since we're going crazy on the microphones.
The limit is on.
Yeah.
How come the limit are on?
Look at this. Baseball. You're there. Karen says you have she's unbelievable. Aren't those good? Karen Saracena made them. She's a really good baseball player. She came to me at a fundraising meeting before the meeting. And she's nice to me, so she's
Delicious.
So are you gonna leave this discussion?
Thank you, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome.
I love lemon.
Me too, lemon. I thought actually expect the lemon and then chocolate chips. You can't ask for that. Perfect combination.
Oh, I already had one, I'll back for a second.
The revenue sheet will give you all the numbers you need.
Okay, great, thank you. So, on the last sheet you received is the revenue sheet. Somewhere late.
That was the last one, I believe, before the stipend list.
Right. Okay, so you have one that's like, you got three sheets at the bottom, and the one before that is the revenue sheet. The last three-page piece that you have is the stipend, and the one just before that, so 4 pages from the bottom is your budget expenditure and revenue sheet.
Do we have this already?
Yeah, you've probably already done it before you.
Section 27.
This is for from the last one, and so don't come back down.
But I turned.
You live in a world of chaos.
No, I turned, because then it's going in the right order. Right?
I suppose. So you should move on.
You can see them on the sheet. That's what's in the sheet.
2018, 2019 projected revenue.
Okay,
us a little like this, a little half sheet.
Okay, thanks. All right, so the things that are in the budget expenditures, the revenue source, so you see all right, you see the expenditures in the top of the page, it says it's at a 4.12% increase, and then under the revenue sources, the only one that's in here, so the total percent increase to taxpayers would be 5.63%, you see that at the bottom? And so in order to get from that 4.12 to the 5.63, the money that was used from the fund balance for one-time projects and equipment was set at $744,508. There was a little up and down on each of the numbers that Denise had to work through the entire budget. And so to make this work out to a 5.63 instead of what you had talked about previously, instead of going to a 5.7 or something like that, that's the total amount that was put in for the fund balance. Another thing that's a little bit different here, you'll see that the sports activities fees reflect a $5,000 increase. That's what the board talked about last week. And you'll also note that under reimbursement, SRTC, the culinary arts, we've put that whole program back in for this next year as a revenue source because Sanford High School was not able to open the whole school at the start of the year, so they're going to allow us to keep the program. They're interested in keeping it for a semester, but when this school opened, it took Chef Kuchar a summer to set up his kitchen and run it and be ready for students to begin. So I'm going to enter into protracted conversations with Sanford that I'm in this for the year. Half a year is not in the best interest of students. So we'll put the whole revenue source in there. So the total change, as I said, came out at 5.63. So just for informational sake, if you would like to, if you have something to write with on the bottom of that page, I'm going to give you a few extra numbers, just very briefly. These are all ones that you'll be asked in public, I think, that's a common question. So on a $200,000 house, property valuation of $200,000. In Berwick, this change is 5.63 overall increased budget represents $251. Lebanon, it is 169. North Berwick is at 186.
Can you repeat those? 186 was the last?
Berwick was 251. Lebanon was 169. And North Berwick was 186. I think that the documents they represent any changes that you have requested from the decision sheet, the final draft of the decision sheet that we had that was more like a mini spreadsheet. And the 5.63 was the number at the last meeting that board members said that you could support that to put out to taxpayers.
Unfortunately, I missed the last meeting. Are there any decisions still pending that need to be made tonight?
No.
We did a straw poll that night, right?
Yeah, a straw poll, there would need to be, tonight, it would need to be a, oh, thank you, so that's already been put through, the medical we had is at 4%, thank you for reminding me of that. The medical came in at 0% increase, so that was a savings of, I don't know, $180,000. So we're able to take care of some of that. We had a couple of pieces that we went through and cleaned up as we were looking at our final resources. For instance, there was the program that we decided to use for our crisis planning, which is called Crisis Go. It's an app so that if there is a crisis somewhere, the first responders and the administrators in the building and the teachers all have immediate access to that app and people can respond to say there's an active situation in their area, or the room is clear, so forth. So it instantly feeds to responders and to administration. That wasn't in the budget, that was $8,000. It's a decision that it's in there now. It's a decision that we said we need to put this through the budget. The one other piece for $8,000 that was not originally in that was Mr. Vos, Ralph Vos, who is retiring, but he's the guy that built the FileMaker Pro evaluation system that we use, and he's making that over the next year. We're in year 2 this year, next year's year 3, and we're completely live with it this year, but we're not done with our development of the evaluation system. So there's an $8,750 amount in there so that Ralph can continue throughout the year to work with the evaluation steering committee, to work with administrators, and to fine tune that so that at the end of next year, that product, if we have a new job description or if we want to change rubrics or something like that, they can be inserted they can be uploaded into active files and no one has to, we don't need a Ralph to maintain that for us. So Denise, miss anything that you can think of?
Other than the decision sheet things, those are the other things.
Did any of that money go to the hole that we were trying to fill?
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
The hole.
Yeah.
Of the medical
The
things?
533, yeah, what we were at,
So on
533,000 minus.
On that sheet, I think we were at 568 on top of the one-time purchases going originally. And it's on the revenue sheet that you were just looking at, it's 339. You'll see additional fund balance used or
It's 377, 700?
377, there we are.
Yeah.
And that used to be
568.
Yeah, we were at 568 at one point, and then we took 35,000 off that because we decided not to do any of the tiling projects. And then we had a couple of the pieces that I just mentioned that needed to be in the budget and accounted for, and the difference came off
Just a question on one thing. Just not looking forward to being in the hole starting next year already. So anything we can do to help is awesome.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun to start at a 2% or something like that. And
Lord knows we have never had a budget year where we have extra money.
How are numbers looking next year for kindergarten?
They're up 10 at Hanson Elementary. So we're kind of close there to a cusp number where that's a little problematic for us because we don't exactly have space to add a classroom. We're currently using all the spaces. The only alternative would be that some programs may go in a cart, some global tank programs. That's where we're at. So it is unfortunate that we don't have the opportunity in this budget to the Owl's Nest over the summer, but
I'm not in favor of a cart, just so you know.
I did not expect you to be.
If we are that tight in Lebanon, we need whatever we're calling it, a portable, a cottage,
Yeah.
whatever we're calling it.
Yeah.
Because they are not going to receive the same instruction. You can't, it's just not the same.
I agree.
And the Owl's Nest annual lease was?
So it was over 5 years, and it would be about, let's say,
Was it high 40s?
yeah, it might have been 47. It was about $220,000 altogether, so over 5 years.
So
Plus the
it must be
interest.
50s.
Yeah, $50,000 I would say would be ample. And then, of course, the state would provide us subsidy back for each of the 5 years in total of about $120,000. So the real cost in it to the district would be about $25,000 a year. But I have to do the expenditure side of it, so that would be represented.
Because, I mean, if we're going to keep it equitable, thank you,
We understand.
across the district, we already know the physical buildings in Lebanon are subpar. And if you're then going to start putting programs on carts, that's not equitable.
We know we're gonna have to get some students in August or in September.
That would be our trend. What we've seen with Lebanon is that we'll get a pocket. We had the 13th third graders. We just seem to get these pockets. It's kind of a little strange how that works out. And we're just really hopeful that the pocket doesn't end up in kindergarten.
With us being very fortunate to hit a 0% increase this year, and the surprise 180,000, I suppose a question to the board would be, would you be interested in putting 50 of that towards the LSAS and get that started for this year? That would lock us into 50 every year for 5 years. But it's,
Sometimes it's good to get started with something so that you have to find a way to keep it.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
but it's money I sure didn't expect the 0.
I didn't expect a 0. Wow.
And if that would be,
I was hoping for 2. You know, I was hopeful that
yeah.
we'd do that.
And this entire budget season, though, we've heard about how that is one of the, gosh, if we could put it back, that is one of the first things we want to put back is the Owl's Nest project. It's definitely something worth discussing. How do we feel? This would be $50,000 to make up next year from the whole, plus $50,000 we have to pay for it on the lease again, so it's basically a $100,000 swing.
It's 2 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Maybe 5 years.
50,000.
But it would be a $100,000 swing the first year because we've got to make it the whole. Because we're taking $50,000 out of the hole that wouldn't be there for next year's budget.
But did we put that 180 in the hole, right?
Yeah.
Most of it, we offset a couple of those small
Okay,
expenditures
so-
that we talked about.
We'd still have 130 in the hole. Right.
I think we're about 130 shaved off, it'll be around 80.
Probably closer to, it'd probably be about 75,000 towards it at that point.
Really?
Yeah, because we were at
Well, because we're
530.
talking about the 50 coming up, right?
Well, we were at 568 in the first draft of the budget.
We're down to 370, 700.
Let me just,
You mean?
Didn't you want him to come over here and sit over here with the mic?
yeah,
Come, hang out with the cool kids.
We're all cool kids here.
Hello, TV, man. We welcome Denise Van Kampen, MS-8060's business manager.
okay, so we are currently at 370,700 for the additional usage. If we add $50,000 to our expenses for the Owl's Nest lease, we could add another $50,000 to fund balance usage to maintain the 5.63% budget you had recommended previously.
Can you say that again?
Yep, so we would add 50,000 of expenses for the
Okay.
lease, and then use fund balance to pay for it.
Okay, so we're reducing that to 550,000, the 370 by 50,000.
It would go to 427,700.
You would technically add what you're adding to it.
That's where we
Oh,
get
okay,
the money.
okay, I got it.
That's where the revenue would come to pay for it.
And just out of curiosity, off the top of your head, what's the fund balance at right now? Do we have that in mind?
Yeah, so the fund balance is actually calculated at the end of every fiscal year. Let me open.
Yeah, tough to give particulars on
I know,
that.
I didn't know.
So we had unassigned approximately 1.8 million in unassigned fund balance available. We're using $404,300 for CIP projects, which is your section 21. We're using $170,467 for general maintenance projects in section 20. And approximately $134,725 for one-time purchases. Those are the risers, the cafeteria tables in North Berwick,
This is the
a
one.
truck, the scissor lift, those things. And then
Like,
we would have additional usage. So we would be going down to approximately, let me find, 420,700. We'd be just under 700,000 remaining. And that would be our anticipated after all that usage.
Which is 1.5.
Well, it's approximately, yeah, 1.5.
Out of the 3%.
And the goal is to have it be
And
3% max.
usually we shoot for around 750,000. Again, our thinking is if we have about 300 or 350,000 left over at the end of the year, that's about our 1%, right, of our total budget. So if we can have 1.2 million, we deduct 350, we're shooting for about $700,000 at the end. So we're very close to where we normally try to target when we budget for that fund balance. There's maybe 75,000 that we're using as a whole, but the rest is right in our target area.
So you say, this is a separate from money, that we're getting close to the cusp of having to do something. How close are we talking?
10 students.
We're 10 students away?
Yeah, guaranteed at 10 students, probably at 5. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I know that they're 10 higher than we anticipated at this point. Specifically for kindergarten.
Yeah, I'm going my sheet here tonight about what we had projected. Oh, you don't have the numbers you projected?
No, I just was in communication with Patty, looking at her numbers, and and I remember seeing that we were 10 higher, thinking, well, that's not a good starting point.
And then when the state reimburses it, is it 2 years out, or what is?
I think it's a year.
I just asked that question because will they not
I think
change
it's
the
a year.
rules, will they?
Well, you can never say never.
I know.
Because it depends on what they decide is useful or unuseful, but our feedback that we had last time with what we did in North Berwick was, please share what you're doing with other districts, because we're trying to supporting Seattle, and no offense, but in particular.
I got my sheets before. So we had, on March 1st, we were given the sheet. It said that it was projected for Lebanon, 5 kindergarten sections at 15 students per section, and 7 sections at Hussey, 15. Now, were their numbers up too?
She's already there.
Excuse me?
Patty's already there. Patty's just about at that number now per class.
Okay, but that's projected.
And the other classes, the other schools are not at that number yet. So we've got room.
Okay, so to me, it makes sense then, because our goal has always been to keep the kindergarten classes small. So, adding 10 students to 11, and that's, we have 5 sections right now, so we have 17 kindergarten kids in each section.
Yeah, we don't have an opportunity to do like a K1, a couple of K1s and split off. We don't have
Because you have
space.
19 kids right now.
We don't have space for
Well,
that.
that's the other point I was gonna make, is even kindergarten, when I say next year there wasn't the demand, but if that building is freighted to the point where we have no space for any movement, then this would, I think, be a very versatile addition that can
Yeah.
help out with surges in any grade for a while until we end up doing a major capital improvement
Actually, it
project.
could at either school, because no matter, if you're at the 4 or 5, you're walking to Hanson for several things anyways, so it could be a combination.
So again, I mean, the issue though, if I got this right though, we're looking at about $100,000 swing next year's budget, because we're gonna add 50 to the whole makeup, and we'll now have a $50,000 lease for that year. But this year, it's basically just $50,000 of this medical money, if we want to get started on the lease and create some more Lebanon.
I think it would be a very proactive thing to do.
Yeah.
I still would like to remind everybody the plan of the marching band. But I'm kidding, of course, so this is the kindergarten,
Now,
the
wait a minute.
Lebanon Cows marching
Careful.
band. No, I think though, looking forward, because we do already have a full school then. The school is full.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to put them but on carts.
That would be our next move, would be
Yeah.
to put a program on the cart.
It seems to me with unexpected funds and an opportunity to get something going a year earlier than normally would, it seems wise to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it would either be music or art.
We don't have any choice, given the conditions.
Right, I think that's what it comes down to.
So you need a motion for that one, or just for guidance to make that change?
We don't need, you just decided, like on these other pieces, you decided where you are. The only motion that we would need to
Is an
entertain
adoption.
tonight is, yeah.
So one of the changes we would like to make to this particular budget is a transfer of funds from the money that we're offsetting the fund balance to then begin the lease purchase of the Owl's Nest project at the Lebanon School.
Yes.
Okay, is there anyone opposed to this idea? Very well.
So Denise, the anticipated revenue from all sources would,
Would be 22,
yeah,
269, 766.
69.
Would 50 be enough to
Because
do
we're
that lease
using-
purchase? I thought it was.
Because we're using fund balance, and,
That's
That
a
doesn't-
good, that's the estimate we were using.
and so that doesn't change our
Our percentage should still be the same.
requirements that are required for proposed budget and the projected increase.
Correct.
Because
So
it's out of fund balance.
the expenditures, the total budget would be $41,560,414.
Okay, so Mr. Price, that would be,
Read that one more time. Yeah.
Yep, 41,516,414.
Thank you.
so at the top of the page, at some point tonight, when the board is ready, there would be a motion to adopt a $41,516,404.
414.
I remember the number correctly, $414,000 budget that represents a 5.63% increase in tax rates.
Okay. Well, before we get to that, because there might be other ideas or changes, do we have any other discussion on this budget?
So last time Travis was here, we had questions about the main contract. Do you want to talk about that now, or? I don't have a ton of information, but we.
What was the question?
It was
So
about
the,
the local business school and phase 3 and what would happen. We were looking at the cycle for the Maine Bond Bank to figure out when could this actually take place. You need about a 6-month lead time. If it happened in the spring of 19, then by, a certain point, Thanksgiving or October or something in there, it would begin to set the timeline in motion.
Would any answers from that affect these numbers?
No.
So, since it was Travis's question, I don't know if we should wait till Travis is here to answer it. I don't know, is everyone?
that's fine.
Do you have any new information?
Well, I had gone and I had gotten sample amortization schedules from the Maine Bond Bank. They sent me out sample, based on the estimated cost we had given them. And Travis had also asked if there was a penalty for prepayment, and you cannot prepay bond.
Really interesting.
So you have to choose, you can choose the number of years you want up to 20, but you cannot prepay it, so you do that in the planning process. I also I asked the question, you are able to fund both roofing and paving.
Say that again?
And roofing and paving are qualified projects in a bond issue. So if we had the discussion last time that we were concerned about the paving in our facilities, so I just wanted to.
If we wait until Travis is here to have a full board,
I can pass those out.
there'll be plenty of time for us to still have a good discussion about it, figure out if we wanted to move forward on that.
And if we move forward, though, was that, because we got to adopt the budget, that wouldn't do anything?
That doesn't affect the budget this year.
Okay. I apologize, I just missed the last
No,
meeting, so
it's okay.
I'm kind of green on this.
Good question.
So I was reading on the MMA newsletter that just came out that there may be a shortage of funds in the bond bank.
I spoke with Tony Reed, who is the person at the Maine Bond Bank that the schools deal with, and I've spoken with Bill Stockmeyer, our attorney, who would be helping us with our application and the process, and neither one mentioned that there was any funding issue that might occur. They were both aware of our, just a sample timeline that we had talked about, and nobody had mentioned that. I can certainly follow up with an email.
Okay.
And verify.
If I can find it, I can get this together.
It'd be great if we discuss this.
I agree. So that aside, any other questions or concerns with the budget as it is? I'm excited we're actually able to do something positive tonight. How about 11? Because this is literally causing me to be depressed in therapy. So we need a motion
It's a
to adopt.
responsible budget that
I agree.
is frugal, but also forward-looking with the priorities in mind.
Agree.
I agree. I hope next year we can put it in marching. Get more kids out and having fun. What's that?
Let's aim for it.
Yeah.
I think we didn't have anybody to do the marching band. Is that why we didn't?
We will find someone to do a
Oh,
marching
okay.
band.
All righty.
But the fact is, Noble Nation should have full participation from everybody. Go Knights. All right, so the motion would be to adopt a budget with an expenditure amount of $41,516,414, representing a total increase of 5.63%. Is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion from Stan, second
Made the
from...
motion.
Stan made the motion, Joanne made the second. Any further discussion on the matter? All those in favor of adoption of this budget? All those opposed? No?
Okay. Hallelujah.
There we go.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Yeah. So we'll get materials out to Drummond Woodson so they can start putting things together, and our annual reports will get into progress. So separately is the adult ed budget that needs approval. And the adult ed budget this year is set at $414,939, and the local portion of that is $251,246.
We have a number for a percent increase.
No? Let me see what section it's in.
Well, listen, we have a wonderful adult ed program here.
Oh, I'm not, I just want to make sure that we
I know,
include it.
absolutely.
It was the first one?
Education, I believe it was the
No,
first.
it was high
Oh,
school.
no, that was in,
That was the
no.
high school.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much ordered about 18
What
to that.
figures is he quoting? I guess is my question. Total,
This is the total
total
budget?
something.
So the total, so if you look at the bottom, well, this is off by dollar. If you look at the bottom of the second page,
Yep.
you see that it says that the proposed is a 414,938,
Yep.
which represents a $74,559 increase.
Calculate that out.
That's the total budget.
Well, that's the revenue. That's what we need to raise, so that's the amount that goes on the ballot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
The amount from the towns is that 251.
Okay. So really, the amount from the towns, the increase is $2,191. So
Is
yes,
what?
the town is $251,246.
Yes,
And that represents an increase of 2,000.
yes.
So what is the percentage of the,
So it's 251, 246, divided by 249.
Less than 1%, isn't it?
5 is 8.87 of 1%.
Say it again?
0.88 of 1%.
It's
0.88
less than
of 1%.
1%.
less than 1%? So 0.88, that was what you said?
Yes.
0.88%. So the motion to adopt the adult ed budget, it's a separate motion, and the motion I'm asking for is to approve a budget of $414,938, the share of which to be raised from the towns of $251,246. That amount is $2,191 higher than last year, or a percentage raise of 0.88%.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, Nancy, second, Joanne. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous vote.
19,180 on the adult ed, right?
That's correct.
Nancy Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm borrowing this. I am going to be excusing myself from the rest of the meeting to prepare for
Thank you,
a
Denise.
union meeting in the morning. So Nancy, would you want to take an over the meeting for me? Thank you very much. Have a good evening, folks.
You as well?
Great job.
Patty Gilly? Hoot hoot, time to nap.
I figure she'd be pleased.
And Brenda's like, the suspense is killing me, did they call? Yes, I was like, you're all set. Okay. Calendar?
So I have a discussion about the draft calendar. I've got a consideration, 3 of them to go that way. This is one that you have seen the draft on before, 3 to go that way. Oh, sorry, 4 to go that way. Okay. So this is the same one that you saw, that you've seen before. The difference is that there was the contract is from September 1, the teacher's contract, from September 1 to August 31st. We have traditionally had 2 workshop days prior to the start of school. And 3 out of every 7 years, that means that if you're going to do that, it's going to fall before the holiday. And that is going to push you into the last week in August. There was discussion about that with the association, and the association voted 53% to 46 and a little bit more not to agree to that change in the contract language. So that means, so what we're confined to is that in the Sanford and the other sending schools calendars, we're at 5 out of sync days now. So we cannot add any days out of sync at this point. So what we're going to be doing is Sue and Heidi have been pecking very hard at my thick skull and have given me some good suggestions for how to deal with that. So I'm going to be meeting with the president and vice president of the association and talking with them about another option that I'll look at. I'll get into that after I meet with them next week.
So they don't want to come in the 29th and 30th. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
which I'm going to be honest, I'm disappointed because I think we were agreeing that a teacher workshop day on the 30th was a paid day to come in and work in the classrooms. And it's a job expectation, so even if you don't have the day, people are expected to be ready for the first day of school. Even if they walk in the first day with kids, the room is ready, the curriculum is ready, they're ready to go. So I kind of have to scratch my head on that one and say, so you don't want us to pay you for a day to come in, you'd rather be required to come in on your own. I guess that's okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so
Every other school in Southern Maine does that.
and also this year, in the spring, you know that we have had issues with snow days, and we're making up 2 hours on every Thursday beginning today through the end of the year to make up 4 hours. But in reality, it's not 4 extra days for teachers.
No.
And the decision to do this doesn't impact just teachers. It impacts all the other, not administration, but it impacts support staff, and it impacts drivers and so forth. So because they have PD days too, and we're not going to have a PD day here for this group and one over here for that group and one over here. So it's problematic and disappointing all the way around. I'm not going to hide that.
And they would complain like crazy if they didn't get out of school until June 28th.
I imagine people wouldn't be happy about that. So I would have been more hopeful for some flexibility, reciprocity, thinking about the board and superintendent have created this, and so this is a reasonable thank you and so forth, but we didn't get it.
Have we ever, has there been any conversation about combining the February and April vacations into a March vacation?
There have been in some districts, I think, I might not be accurate in this, but I'm pretty sure Kennebunk was one, or LSU 21, and I think Kittery was one at one point that was looking at that.
That's something that districts can choose to do? It's not
They can choose to do it. There are some difficulties that creates if you're off schedule. For instance, are you going to say on certain days when you're off, or you going, how do your sports schedules align? Here's a really easy
Everybody
thing
have
to
to
look
choose.
at. Yeah, are you going to be having playoffs at a certain venue in the basketball season, and so one school is saying, well, our kids are here, and while they're here, we'll send them off in a bus, and they're not participating in the class. I mean, it's just crazy. I think people have to, it's kind of like the change in the day schedule, flipping the schedule and starting later. We're kind of stuck. I do believe the research in that is viable, that the later start, more accommodating to the late adolescent, early teen brain. It is overwhelming body of research. And if we did decide to do that, we pretty much are almost stuck to the schedule of Sanford schools, because if they're starting at the usual time, we can't send our students there earlier than they start. So how do we do that?
That's the problem with cooperating with other districts.
Yeah,
Regionalization.
cooperation is part of it.
Regionalization
It
is, it's in some ways, we're seeing how regionalization causes us to lose control of our decisions.
So where in the schedule are the out-of-sync days?
So they're on September 4th, November 19 and 20, December 21st, and March 15th.
15th, is that what you're saying?
Yes, March 15th. But there are a couple of options in there that everybody agreed to for days that technically, here's an example. Look at April 12th. That says that the vacation starts on that day. Well, if all the other schools are off and we're not, because we put a teacher day in there, that doesn't impact any other school. It doesn't mean our students had to be someplace. Same thing with December 21st.
So having those
December 21st
days.
isn't
be
highlighted
teacher
on this, but
workshop
I think
days.
ours is highlighted. Yeah, December 21st on our calendar is highlighted as a no school day. I'm curious, this Sanford draft doesn't have it, and I thought it did when I saw the previous. So, no, this isn't, maybe not the latest draft. This is from December.
They passed it? I thought they passed it. already.
May have, I'd have to double check, but I know that, like in our schedule right now, December 21st is not listed as a school day.
For you?
Yeah,
For us,
our
for
district.
Noble.
Yeah, but it could be a teacher day. I mean, those are options.
Yeah, I can't imagine the teachers would like that option. I mean, think about it.
Well, you can only have.
Give up the day before your
I agree,
vacation.
and you can only have so many choices.
I know. I
So,
agree.
I'm
Yeah, there's
absolutely
only so many days
agreeing
in
with you.
in the year to kind of make that work.
So, can we go back to September 4th? Are you
Yes.
saying
So
that
that is,
SRTC is not
that
starting
is
that
an
day?
out-of-sync day. And so there's the potential that some districts could do something a little bit different with that, but Sanford is starting on the 4th. So we're not going to add days to our SRTC students that are different from everybody else. Our SRTC kids aren't going to do 177 days while
So
everybody
you
else
weren't
does
gonna have-
175.
Our SRT students go the 4th.
So for us, in our draft calendar here, that light blue represents the first student day.
Right.
So we will have our students go on that day.
So that's not out of sync then?
No, it's not for us. It was for some other districts.
Oh, okay.
So
So
we-
meant for us.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Over the 8 districts, for instance, March 15th is out of sync for just RSU 57, but it counts against everybody's calendar.
crazy. So it's not just our,
Just maybe
the
not
district
all
that
of
has
our
5 days.
Yeah.
It's only all of the districts,
Each
whole
school
entire 5
district
days.
have to be within 5 days of each other.
I gotcha.
We have to be lockstep for
I
this.
gotcha. I thought it was just
Which,
us.
it makes sense in some ways if you think about it. Kids need 375 hours to earn their certifications in a lot of those courses. And we have snow days, and sometimes you're on the same, we had 2 days this year that Sanford had half days and we didn't have school. So, you know, this totals, but we were almost lockstep with Sanford anyways. So we'll be back at the drawing board trying to figure out a couple of those options. And I don't think they'll be as palatable, but
No, I don't think they will be. Because they're gonna have to come in and get ready in
anyway,
the end of August anyway. so.
yeah.
We always used to do that. When did you start paying for a day?
Well, one of them was a workshop day. and
The workshop days,
They're paid for 100, they're paid for the 181 days.
Uh-huh.
And so whether you, and it's over 26 equal checks, so when the day happens is less, it's, you know, who knows when it's going to end in June, and starting in late August, those 2 days, it doesn't factor into it because it's still in their next paycheck, so.
Right.
I don't ever remember a page.
I think, back like, wait a minute, I don't remember that.
No.
Good with that? Regional Service Center and Bar Foundation Award updates. What's next?
So the Bar Foundation, very quickly, is, you're aware that we were awarded $750,000 over 3 years for the bar work and the purpose of the work is to expand and continue to support the launch of a redesign of our multiple pathways program to make it, it's not just about building it up to 100, 105 students, it's about expanding it into doing more of the different kinds of initiatives that we want that program to do. So what we're scheduled for right now, it's still flexible even though it's in the agreement, is the first year is $350,000, then $250,000 and $150,000. And we're in discussions about those parts. First thing is, it would be the hiring of it includes, for some of the agreements, the hiring of a full-time social worker to work specifically with the population of students who are in MP, plus some other students who may be considered for multiple pathways to do some connection building. And developing a partnership with Seacoast Youth Services to provide in-school and out-of-school intensive outpatient therapeutic and substance abuse services. Continue the partnership with Suites of Mental Health Services. Continue a consultation with Lisa France, who is a trauma expert, and budget funds to cover the cost of therapeutic services for students without insurance. We also would, it also provides time for a program director. So Jenny Lynn would continue her teaching roles, but she'd also have opportunities to step outside of that and do program directorship and building, continue to work on developing the program. Creating curriculum crosswalks to develop various pathways. So we've talked a lot about extended learning opportunities, very flexible day schedules. When does a day start? When does a day end? How do teachers do that kind of a schedule? What services are provided? How do you build in more community service opportunities? Those are all part of this grant. And hiring a full-time educational technician, that will be in this next year as well, to assist with day-to-day staff and student needs. As well, in the future, we'll be hiring a full-time physical science teacher and math teacher to work specifically in that program because it will have 105 students in it, so they'll need the full-time staffing. So we are thrilled at that opportunity. My other piece was on, what was the other one?
Regional Service Center.
Regional
Your
Service
question
Center.
about the-
Good, and they got penalized.
the ones that you just kind of ran through.
Say, I'm
Is
sorry?
that, how many years is of funding?
So the grant covers 3 years. So that means that in the 4th year out, we have to be thinking about, okay, what's the increase that causes? But part of what we have to also figure out is, if 105 students shift to that program, does that mean that we need less people in different places so we can absorb some of that? There's a question about that, because we're not just a school where kids go to any teacher at any time. You're in a house, an academy, and you have your science and your math teachers on team and so forth, except for some advanced placement classes and so forth. So we're going to have to see how that's going to shake out as we start to build the population of the program.
Is there any, either money or time built in over the next couple of years to be tracking that so that, like we can kind of have some metrics around like what impact it'll have for budgeting down the road or even success down the road?
Yeah, so there's 2 or 3 different longitudinal pieces that we need to be looking at. What are the qualifications for students to enter into the program? What years do students can they enter? Is it just sophomore, junior, senior? What about 8th, 9th grade? Where do we develop opportunities for those students? What's the financial impact moving along? So there's probably, I think we talked about 4 or 5 different parameters we need to pay attention to over the next 3 years. So the second piece is about the regional service centers. So you may recall that the purpose of the regional service centers was really to thinly veiled ploy, to say, do away with superintendent's assistants, superintendents, business managers, special ed directors, transportation directors. Did I say business managers? Yes. Do away with all kinds of fun roles and regionalize those services. So let me give you some information. In 2017-18, this school year, we receive $135 per student for system administration. Next year, we'll receive $92 per student for system admin. The state will also provide for districts that agree to be part of an RSC, a regional service center. They'll also provide extra funding for us. It's about $81,500. So let me put it in the big picture numbers. This year we're receiving $400,140 for system admin from state subsidy. That comes out to $135 a seat altogether, and you total everything. Next year, with the regional service money, they have 92, and then they have regional service money that comes in. So we'll receive a total of $358,000, a little bit more. So our total that we'll receive per student is $119. So we're at $135 this year, and even in the agreement of moving to an RSC, we'll receive $119. So we're losing $16 a seat, which represents about $42,000 to our district. We're not going to make up $42,000 in the regional service agreement by streamlining our costs on chemicals and on food service. We already do the food service piece. And we also don't have any idea if the state will approve the RSC. I think they will. We'll see. So we're there's legislation out there right now that says if you opted not to join an RSC because your district there was a 2012 report from the Maine Education and Policy Review Initiative by Dr. David Silvernail, and it identified high-performing and highly efficient districts. What they found in that study was at the elementary level, it was a little disparate from it's kind of paralleled the state numbers, that, let's say that the state average is 40% free and reduced lunch at really young ages. The high-performing, highly efficient districts, the elementary schools that fell into that seem to match that about the state average. But the high schools that fell into this high-performing, highly efficient district, their free and reduced lunch percentage was 15%. Which districts are we talking about?
Cape Elizabeth,
Kennebunk,
York.
York? I don't know, tell.
More of those. Well, we know what districts they're not talking about. So it's difficult to see in a state report commissioned by the legislature in 2012 that one of the factors that turns out to be discriminating factor is poverty for high schools. You cannot refute it. If the average in the state is 40% and the high schools came out at 15%, tell me that that's not a factor. So there's legislation right now to say that if you qualified under this high-performing and highly efficient, why would you then need to participate in an RSC? So you would not see a loss in any funds. Well, I know what that means. That means that districts that are receiving funds for participating in an RSC, those funds will be divided out even more amongst other schools that have the high-performing, highly efficient. So we'll see less funds in 1920. I might be wrong about that, but I don't see where they're getting the extra funds from. So I don't think that the legislation is beneficial to many districts. I know a couple of districts that I've talked with the superintendents that are saying it's pretty rational to do if we're qualified as that. It sounds rational. Why would you say a district that is considered highly efficient, which means that what they spend per student and the student results that they get seem to be a bargain, why would you then need to regionalize any of your services if you're highly efficient? So, but I don't like those free and reduced lunch numbers. So we'll see how that particular legislation comes out.
Okay.
The bet is we'll lose some more money in 1920.
I bet we will too. All set on that?
Yes.
All right. Employment, new hires, retirement, and resignation.
Thank you. Okay, so young lady over to the Berwick schools, her name is Lisa Doobie. She might be more commonly known as Lisa Hatfield. She was married and so forth, so the name changes always throw me. This is back in March 26. She said, I'd like to officially tender my resignation as a life skills teacher at Eric L. Milton School. At this time, I'm taking the time to focus on my family. She has a new baby at home, and she says she wishes to continue her employment with MSAD 60 as an Educational Technician 3. So she previously, last year was an Ed Tech 3 in that program, and the teacher transitioned to a different school system, and she was the candidate to run that. And with the marriage and the new baby and so forth, she's saying she would like a little bit more time to divide her attention fairly. I certainly get that, and we supported her in doing that. Because she's resigning from a teacher position, I would need you to approve that.
Would I like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion to accept the resignation.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
So that was Joanna.
With
Becky.
regrets?
Thank you.
Yeah, she's still here. She's not
7.
So,
7. Yes, I'm glad for her that the option was there. We certainly did need her services, and she is doing a marvelous job in the Ed Tech role. Also, in our Multiple Pathways program, a young man by the name of Adam Atherton. I sent him 3 words today: dang, dang, and dang. He is, I believe his wife has an opportunity for a position in Hawaii. I don't know why this matters, but he's tendering his resignation as the health visit outdoor education teacher in the NP program. He wishes to thank everyone here. He's going to stay in touch. I said, no, don't, if you're going to leave us like that. He's been blown away by the way that the administrative staff oversees the daily operations of NHS. And he's taught in several different places, and this is a very special place to work. He's saddened to be leaving at the end of the 17-18 year. It's a teacher position, so I need to have your say in that.
I believe he's one of those teachers that all the kids like, whether or not they have any interaction with, like, they don't have classes with them or in that program, but they all seem to.
Crazy talented person, many different interests, gets kids interested in things they didn't even think about before, also supports them in their interests. And I was up in the room the other day and they were doing some kind of yoga, something like that, and I was like, give me a mat, move over.
Suppose he has room in his suitcase.
Yeah, I know, really, huh?
He's probably going to have a bicycle and a guitar in it.
I'll make a motion to accept his resignation.
I'll second it.
With regrets.
Yes, yes. All in favor?
With regrets, the guy's going to Hawaii.
With envy.
Still don't want to go.
With envy. With envy.
Yeah, with envy. I'll put with regrets and envy. I love that.
Do a quick check. Fucking rates, trips. That's it for positions. Yep, that's it for positions.
Anybody have any others?
I have a couple.
I had let Sue know, but I was in touch with Ms. Brown, the Excel director, and Adina Hunter, and suggested that after National History Day, they might come to one of our board meetings and kind of let the board know just some of the amazing stuff that those kids are doing. And I know that Dustin and Travis and I, because we have kids here, we tend to hear a little bit more, but the rest of you guys don't necessarily hear, like, you know, the day-to-day kind of stuff. So this is one of my favorite events because I was not a history person, and it has like opened up my eyes to just, well, history, but also the ridiculously amazing stuff that these kids pull off. And they go into it not having any idea what they're doing and just put these amazing things together. So they're gonna, I think, get in touch with you to see if they can bring some kids and maybe get on the agenda, so it's not just public input. So they'll be in touch with you.
Great. Awesome. Going to be in my newsletter as well, but in person is nice.
Yeah.
I was watching a student working on a piece to do with, and I just momentarily flipped on the name of it. It was an island off the coast of Maine. There was originally a black settlement.
Yeah, that was Noah Bennett, or is somebody this year doing it? It's Malaga Island.
Malaga Island.
So when Noah Bennett did it, Noah Bennett a couple of years ago did that for the topic, and he won at the state and then went to the national competition and actually took first place nationally in the exhibit category, which is the one that has by far the most submissions. And he won first place, and it was like it was a history thing about Maine that 98% of Mainers, 99, 100% had never heard of. I don't know. But yeah, so I think it's sort of.
I caught his presentation. I was like, are you kidding?
He actually got a letter from LePage in that promising or agreeing to send out an apology to the families that had been affected as a result of Noah reaching out.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff that they're doing, and they're learning a ton.
Just a couple of updates on trips because you know about people coming and going. New York City Noble High School Music Department, April 27, 28. A quick trip. Rebecca Dewan and Mark LeMay, and they're going to be traveling by bus down there. There's a concert choir performance and workshop I'm not even gonna try to say names on here that they're working with and the songs they're playing. I'm just gonna say these look very nice. And then, oh, Dave and Buster's, that's good.
So, Mr. Connolly, just sort of to interrupt on that, the Miss Dewan is especially excited because apparently the church that they're going to be performing in has just incredible acoustics.
Yes.
So for her to bring the choir there is, sorry, chorus, I get in trouble for calling it choir, chorus, she's just excited because acoustically, I think she has not had them perform in somewhere like that.
So Riverside Church, that explains the 4 exclamation points I'm looking at?
She's very excited. The band, I believe, is also in the church, but not in that part of it, because acoustically would not make as much sense.
Let's see, any other Riverside awards? Nope, that's their piece. Also, the students are going on there, several students going on the annual French trip from the high school. They leave on Thursday the 12th, and then there's some group going to Peru next week. I don't know, it's
Maybe the
Thursday.
superintendent of
All right.
going, where you going?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's going to be amazing.
That was my single bucket list. I said, I've got to get to Machu Picchu someday.
We have
That's
an
that would be my
emergency
ashes.
meeting.
Yeah.
What's that?
We have an
We have
emergency
an
meeting.
emergency.
That's it.
I'm on this app called What's Up.
What's up?
I took that trip and it is worth having it.
How long are
on
they
the
gone
list.
for?
9 days. 9 days. So I've already talked to you folks about it, but this is good information from the public. On Friday, April 27th, we'll be working, the MSAD 60 and first responders will hold a roundtable. That is a roundtable responder share out about the things that they've been learning in the most recent school tragedies. And then there's crisis plan standardization work that go on with those groups. And lastly, breakout sessions for schools and guests to consider plans and staff training and sharing roles and so forth. So we're looking forward to that. We continue to move forward to improve our security systems and responses. And then lastly, almost lastly for me is the MSAD 60 electric supply information. So we have set a rate, we've locked into a 3-year rate of, it was like 0.0065, Denise?
0.065.
0.065,
Yeah.
so 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour. That will save us a little bit of funds. And then school nutrition services, this is a donation, so I'm going to need your thoughts on this. I just received this today. School nutrition program has been raising money to support the Noble Community Lunch Fund. This fund helps buy students a complete school meal at breakfast or lunchtime if their family is unable to provide them the money or food themselves. We reach out to local businesses, organizations, community members to ask for their consideration to donate to the Community Lunch Fund. Keith Walker from Custom Climate Control has generously donated a $500 check to the fund. We ask the board to accept this donation.
Motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Very
So-
kind.
This was a fund that you folks approved last year because we were having situations where on a daily basis, people at the registers were paying for meals for students. So, thank you.
Anybody else have another? Do we have any public input out there? No?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, one question, when are we scheduled to meet again? For the,
We can just hand that out.
okay.
Here. I'm sorry?
Are we meeting in 2 weeks, or do we have something?
We have
Next
the
meeting
negotiations.
Next week,
Yes,
next
we're
week.
meeting the week after April vacation, which is what date?
Hold on.
The 26th?
We would have
So
met
we're not-
during April, but it's the
We're not
3rd.
doing 19?
No, the 3rd is
Okay, good.
We're doing the 26th.
26th.
So the 26th will be our next meeting?
26th, and there will be a hearing prior to that. So we'll get that out to you.
So nothing until then.
Not until the 26th.
So the 26th?
Except for negotiations with administrators And we have documents we can hand
We'll
folks
hand you.
to look at and consider for that.
And so can you review the hearing dates and all that stuff, just for me, because I didn't write it down. When is the hearing on the budget?
May
something.
21st,
That Monday.
May 21st, 6:30 PM in the auditorium. And then the vote is June 12th.
Anybody?
So, I'm sorry, I have May 21st, and then what was the other?
June 12th.
Voting.
Which
The
is voting.
Yeah, the referendum.
Oh, I already have that.
And I do need to ask you, I'm glad you just said that, I do need to ask you, on the referendum, last year, there was a line put in, there was a separate question put in about if funds are reinstituted by the State Department for any reason, do the local taxpayers approve the board's use of those funds without going back out to voters? So I need to, this is the second year of a biennial budget, and it's the short session, and I'm not anticipating things like happened last year on July 4th, but we'll never know until we get there. So what's the
Well,
board's?
the plan is for them to be done up there in a month. We'll see if that happens.
It is, but we'll have to get the ballots probably preparation prior to that.
Right.
And if there's something, what do we do with it? If there's nothing, then we don't have to worry about it.
So do we need to make a motion to put that on the ballot again?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to include that on the ballot.
Liz, that wording, you're on fire tonight. Susie, you're on fire tonight.
I'll second the motion.
So right here, love and connection over there.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of that motion? Language to the... All right, we've got one really important motion.
I'll make that motion again to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Stan.
All in favor? See you in 3 weeks.